and we are going to move on to our second female country artist, albeit a very different one. I think Jack White is going to be really excited about this segment, guys. What do you think? Since he is a vocal fan of this next artist. It is Loretta Lynn, coal miner's daughter. And did you know Loretta Lynn is still putting out albums as of this year?
Yeah. She just released her. I think she just released her 50th record last week or something like that. So yeah,
I know she did a Christmas album a couple years ago that I remember hearing when I went out to pick up some gifts, and I enjoyed. So yeah, 50 albums. Wow. And you know, when she made this album too, she was not a young woman. She was by no means old, but she was not like a 20-year-old neophyte, right? When she was making this album, she was well established in her career. So. Yeah, so I'm going to be interested to talk about this one. I think we're going to start with Josh on this one. I'm going to put the 15 minutes on the clock. Josh, initial thoughts on, and as a movie guy, I'm sure you know that this eventually got adapted into a Academy Award winning, not the picture, but Sissy Spacek, right? Best Actress.
Yeah, that's a good movie. I recommend it. So
let me do the numbers first on this, Josh, because this was 440 in Rolling Stone, and this is the other one that I was kind of alluding to before. This is one lower than Sex Machine, which was at 439 in James Brown. So these albums that we're covering tonight are very close together with Rolling Stone. And it's Loretta Lynn on Best Ever Albums. It's her second highest ranked album. It was ranked in the 1970s 1,278.
Whoa.
Okay. Yeah. So.
And I picked "Hello, Darlin'" as the track,
right.
which of course always reminds me of Dewey Cox. Speaking of good movies, but sorry, Josh, to steal your thunder. Go ahead. Yep.
So I'm a little. I don't see what. Well, let me put it this way: I like the Dolly Parton album more than I like the Loretta Lynn album. Now, there's no denying that she has talent, but I think she's kind of doing. I couldn't pick up on what made her stand out from like when we were talking about compared to Dolly Parton. She seems to be doing the same sort of style of country music that has been around for a long time up to this point, and I guess she is writing about the songs from her perspective, which I guess maybe in and of itself was enough to be different at the time and for her to be a pioneer. I did like the first song about growing up, because that's a straight up like biographical song about her life, and it's very heartfelt and catchy, and it's the title track, Coal Miner's Daughter. And the other song I really liked was Anyone, Any Worse, Anywhere. I thought that was a very cleverly written song and also very soulful as well. The other thing what else? I also like she has some humor in her songs as well. Another Man Loved Me Last Night. That's about her cheating on somebody. And It'll Be Open Season on You. That's a hilarious song. She's got a line that says, if you don't ease up on your mating call, I'll nail your hide to the open wall. I thought that was really, really funny. So yeah, I enjoyed the album, but it didn't grab me in the way that the Dolly Parton album did. And I was thinking too, it's so interesting that this album comes out in 1971, and rock music is in such a different place than country music is in at this
The South
time.
Is in a different place than everywhere else too.
It's like country music is stuck in this holding pattern or period. Now, granted, I don't know a lot about kind of the change in country music at the time, but it seems the same. You could put this album on in like the 40s and it would be the same type of sounding country music, where you can't make the same comparison with rock music in 1971. There was no rock music in 1940 really, but do you guys know what I'm saying there? Mm-hmm. It just kind of sounds the same as it always has. So I'm waiting for that. Maybe it hasn't changed. It probably has, but
it's what country music kind of is. Country music did change. Country music doesn't really sound like this anymore, at least not on the top pop charts. I don't think.
Popular country.
It's getting. There's been some transformation of it, but country music's not really a genre that's known for like expand, breaking down barriers. And
Right.
One of the reasons I think that people love country music is because it's recognizable. It is conservative. It just stays in its lane, and it does it very well. And you're getting different variations of the same songs, the same lyrics, the same chords, but it really resonates with people. It's simple, it's catchy, and stuff like this is, it's good, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you're not going to get and that might be one of the reasons we don't cover a ton of country, is because it's not doing those things. It's not pushing boundaries or anything like that. At least not the way that the other albums that we're covering have.
Yeah, so I guess that's ultimately why I'm kind of a little mixed on this album, is it doesn't seem to be doing anything new that we haven't heard a lot already. And especially, I keep bringing up the comparison to Dolly Parton, but at least it seems like she may be doing something different in her way. But yeah, talk to me more. You guys expand on this and tell me about why this album is special and why she's special.
Matt, you go first, and then I'll follow up.
I kind of find it interesting that I was going to say, to me, this is like volume 2 of the Dolly Parton album, right? Because it's musically, it's not very different. It starts off with a song about her childhood being in poverty, just the same way that Dolly Parton's did. I think that there's a lot more. This album's most of the lyrics on this are, like you said, Josh, either she's cheating on her man's cheating on him.
Yeah.
She's going to fight, she's going to shoot the woman that's like eyeing her man. You know what I mean? Like, and so it's all these different versions of that type of thing. Some of it's funny, but I don't see much difference, because the way that I'm listening to this, it's recognizing it for what it is. I do like the style of country. And I would listen to this stuff many, many times. This is a very easy listen. It's very pleasurable. This is the type of thing that's great to have in the background. If I don't feel like being challenged or feeling like, anything, terribly out of the normal realm of just a musical structure, this is like a great thing to go to. I think this is great music. But yeah, it's the downside of it is it's kind of just that one thing. I do know that Loretta Lynn, I watched that Ken Burns country music documentary that he did, I don't know, a year or two ago, which was very good. I learned a good amount of things on that. And I didn't realize, Loretta Lynn is known for, aside from her music, but for her feminism, like her, similar to Dolly Parton in being a strong, confident woman, in a time where that was not really a whole lot of artists doing that. It's particularly in a genre where, people stay in their lanes more, and kind of follow their traditional gender roles. The women's liberation movement did not come out of the country music, come out of country music. So, so she kind of, I know that she was groundbreaking in that regard. I don't think I can speak more intelligently about that. I don't. Than just saying that, but I did like this. It's it's country music. It's very solid. I do like this a lot. I like her voice, and that's the one thing I forgot to mention because I noticed it here. The other similarity that I found with Dolly Parton is and I don't know if either of you guys recognize this, but there's several key changes in the middle of the songs, and sometimes multiple times, right? And unexpected places. So, and I noticed that with the Dolly Parton album as well. I forgot to mention it, but as soon as I heard it here, I was like, shoot, that's right. She's doing the same thing that Dolly, and I love key changes. You throw a key change in something. I don't know why artists don't do it more often. I don't know. Maybe if people did it all the time, it's almost like, too much frosting on the cake kind of a thing. Maybe it's good that they don't, but when they do it, I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like I always find that like a little pick me up in a song. And there's several thrown throughout this as they are with the Dolly Parton album. So yeah, to me, this is volume 1, volume 2. They're very similar. And I like them both. So this is a thumbs up for me. I like this. And I can't imagine, like I said, I can tell you that her number 1 ranked album on Best Ever Albums, which is Van Leer Rose, the album that she did with Jack White in the early 2000s. That sounds different because you're getting Jack White throwing in some like Jack White guitar playing and some more, kind of indie rock music, playing in there. My guess is most of her other records are not like that. You're going to get a lot of the similar stuff, but it's good. It's very recognizable, very easy to listen to, and it's timeless.
Did you note like the key change on any of the songs? Because that's not something I kind of picked up on.
I don't know if where did I write in a key change?
It's all over the album.
I definitely knew when I heard it. Go ahead,
For
John.
For the Good Times has a very noticeable key change
Yes.
in the middle of it. I'm trying to think. Too Far has a noticeable key change on it, right in the middle. And yeah, in some
Less
cases
of Me.
too.
I have Less of Me.
Less of
one.
Me. Yep. Less of Me had it. Yep. Yeah, I would say at least half the songs have what Matt is talking about.
Do you know what a key change is? Do you know what a key change? You don't know what it sounds like, Josh?
I mean, I think I would if I paid attention to it.
Yeah.
It just sounds.
It's basically going like a step. It's going like a step up. You're staying in the same kind of. You're staying in the same pattern, but you're kind of going like a step up or like a half step up. I always think of like I'm not even going to do an example of it because I won't do a good job of it. But I always think of the Michael Jackson song. What is it? Will You Be There? He does I think it's the Free Willy song. He does like 8 of them.
Yeah.
It's the same, but he just keeps going up and up. So I always thought that was a good example of that, and I love it. The more, the better.
Anytime you run the scales. Mm-hmm.
There was one song that wasn't on Spotify, so then I paused it and went to YouTube.
And you're right.
That song.
That is right.
And
it's my favorite song on the album.
Yeah,
Another Man Loved Me last night.
Song.
That was it. Yeah.
But could I jump in here because I want to say the thing that's different to me about Loretta. So I've always thought with country music has two worlds, right? There's the mainstream country music that's designed to be as broad as possible for that audience, and then there's the country music that people like, but it's made by the iconoclasts. You know, that's like the Johnny Cash, Hank Williams Jr., Loretta Lynn's in that category for me. Even in modern day country, right? Like Sturgill Simpson kind of comes from that. And then you have like Carrie Underwood and George Strait and Garth Brooks. There's different variations of it, and they both very much come from the same musical tradition. The difference to me is the lyrical content. One is like about making you feel good and celebrating stuff, and the other is kind of panning a little bit more on the darker or even sort of the uncomfortable parts of life. But instead of, Dolly Parton sunshined it up, right? Loretta Lynn doesn't really. And one thing that fascinates me about country music is for all the supposed, conservatism and stuff like that, no one writes, with the exception of like R&B, no one writes more explicitly about sex than country. And I mean, Another Man Loved Me last night could be called something very explicit because that's what it is. It's literally like, I love you and I want to like make love to you more, but not make love, the different type, right? And so I just went and got it. And I mean, and that is to some degree a level of feminism, right? And to think that a woman was writing this in 1971, probably to like the Bible Belt, and also was playing the Grand Ole Opry, but in a totally different way. It's just fascinating to me because while the music does sound Matt a lot, and themes, right, kind of carry on Dolly Parton's, to me they're very different types of songs. And I'll be honest, as much as I love the Dolly Parton album and I love the songs that made me feel good, these songs kind of resonated with me because these are songs. I would be curious as to how many songs Loretta Lynn actually wrote. I'm sure she wrote Coal Miner's Daughter and I think a couple others, but the rest of these sound very much like professional songwriters writing professional songs, all the way down to the key changes, Matt. You know what I mean? And that's what this feels like. This feels like it's an album where in Nashville they went and they said, give me a group of great songs. And like, give me songs that Loretta Lynn would sing. And then she does it and she sings them. You know what I mean? And that's not a bad thing. I always think back to that Clive Davis line to Whitney Houston when she wanted to write her own stuff. He goes, you can maybe be good at it, but maybe if you're not, you'll be an A+ singer singing, bad songs, right? Why not be an A+ singer singing A+ songs? And that's kind of what I think of with professional songwriters. And I love these songs. They're funny, they're profound, but they're funny and profound also in a way that you can play them, like you said, in the background, and you can also choose to let them wash over you if you want to. Yeah. And you could take some of the songs humorously, or you could take some of the songs darkly. One person's laughing at the man of the house is another's, what is she saying about the man of the house? You know what I mean? One person's view of Coal Miner's Daughter could say inspirational, uplifting tale. Another could say how does, and that's what I like about Loretta Lynn, and I think why she resonates with iconoclasts in all genres because of that je ne sais quoi, as you say, that like is like just dark enough to be profound, but not so dark that you can't come into it. And that's gonna be my takeaway from this album. That I thought the quality of the songs was very high, and as such, I liked it a lot. Yeah.
I think it was interesting because Josh, you picked up on it too. Like Anyone, Any Worse, Anywhere. There's like that. Another title, Less of Me. When I read the titles, I was thinking one thing, and then when she sang it, I was like, oh, it's totally different. I see what she's doing. So there is a lot of cool wordplay in there that I noticed. And I had to look, John, because you brought it up. But she wrote 2 songs and she co-wrote 1. So there's actually a
Which
lot
ones,
of,
out of curiosity?
So she wrote Coal Miner's Daughter.
Okay.
And she also wrote What Makes Me Tick. And both of those were the tracks of each side. And the other one, she co-wrote Anyone, Any Worse, Anywhere. And another Chris Christopherson, he wrote For the Good Times. So that was a great song too.
Yes, it was.
That was a very sad song, right? That was the breakup. Yeah, this is mostly about relationships in all different kinds of ways, right? Like, and What Makes Me Tick is kind of like,
but not in the Dolly Parton way.
No, not in the Dolly Parton way, but there's just a variety of different themes within that. It's not all like you cheated on me. It's not all like remember we did the the Supremes, and it's all like I can't stop loving you even though you treat me terribly. There's one of those songs on here, right? Like What Makes Me Tick is that song, and then but everything else is other variations of her role in the relationship, role reversals, her looking at somebody else's relationship or somebody else looking at hers. So it's much more varied in that regard.
She's also not very idealistic in her view of relationships in the way that like that Supremes even the Dolly Parton one, she just immediately inserts herself into a very feminine, very traditional thing while she gives you winks and nods that she's a lot more than it. Loretta Lynn doesn't do the wink and the nod. She's like, I'm a different type of lady, and I've got some, feminine things, and I've got some things where I need more, from you than just what a typical lady would need. And that's a lot of these love songs. I feel it's like, you got to step up, you know what I mean? Because not enough just for you to be a half-assed version of yourself, like you got to be a more whole-assed version of yourself. And I think that's kind of what I responded to a little bit, because I know that, famously, and this is before I really even knew a lot of Loretta Lynn, I know she was very famous for like writing songs about like contraception and stuff in the 70s in Nashville, which, I mean, you want to talk about having balls. That's like, that audience probably, you're playing to probably, in the 70s, 80s of people who would think of you, as a sinner, you know what I mean? Never mind judgment. So, I mean, it's not like,
probably.
Yeah, I always know the South's got that interesting thing where it's like there's the public face and then there's the like behind the private scenes, you know what I mean? Like live and let live to some degree. But I think that she's a very interesting character, and I enjoyed this album. And it's only 29 minutes long. So once again, how much can you hate an album that's 29 minutes long?
I still don't get, like, there must have been, I'm wondering why that one song was not on Spotify. I don't know if it was because of who wrote it.
Because there's a rights thing.
Yeah, it's just, but the rest of the album's on it, so it must be a songwriter thing, because when you look at the songwriters, it's almost like you have Lynn, and then everybody else that wrote a song wrote one of the songs, so it's all different people that were writing. So,
but that's that Nashville thing, where they have that stable of writers, and it's almost like the Brill Building, but for Nashville.
But it's all people that you might have heard of, like Glenn Campbell, like Conway Twitty, Chris Christopherson, So there's a lot of recognizable names here for me anyway. So,
gotcha.